What do you get when you cross a bunch of angry losers with a cowardly mayor? How about a violent mob harassing innocent people? Isn't that pleasant? According to NRO and Quillette writer Andy No, Portland's lawless mob is as routine in that city as lawless mobs are in the Senate office building. This video from October 6th shows Antifa assuming the role of armed crossing guards, threatening citizens with physical harm, even chasing them down with weapons. My favorite part, a pasty white loser attacking a law-abiding driver for being white.
Just go that way. Because I told you to.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Don't hurt
Yeah,
me.
brother.
Just go.
Yeah, you little white little.
Really?
Yeah, you're a little whitey, aren't you?
How is that not a hate crime? And how is this possible? Well, when Portland's mayor, Ted Wheeler, figured it might make him unpopular to enforce the laws, anything's possible. And you know the police aren't there because they feel they'd be punished for doing their job. Afraid that they might look too oppressive against the violent mob, Portland's leaders simply hand over its authority to govern its citizens to a violent mob. You know what? I better not use the word mob.
When you see people like Ted Cruz getting chased out of restaurants by a mob,
Oh,
when you see,
you're
when
not
you-
going to use the mob
I will.
word
Oh,
here.
it's totally a mob. It is without a doubt. I mean, there's no other word for it. It's a go watch it. Put up the video
mob.
of Ted.
Stop.
Oh my goodness. So how dare you call a mob a mob? Now the word mob is no longer allowed to be used when looking at a mob. You better apologize because as we're learning, mob rules, especially in Portland. The mob shows up and takes over without a fight. What a great lesson for other creeps who live near places where leaders refuse to do their job. But hey, if Republicans are evil, anything is permitted. Right, Hillary?
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about.
Fact is, in a world where your silence is demanded and leaders are safely hidden from the rage that they enable, how do we know who's really in charge? Just look for the mob, then move to Texas. I got to go to you first, Kennedy, because you were born and raised in Portland.
I was raised there.
Yes, you weren't born there.
No.
No.
I was born in the mean streets of Indianapolis.
Wow.
Literally on the street. My mom squatted and there it was.
How can those people not be charged for hate crimes?
No, it's awful because the police are not allowed to engage
Yes.
with people like that.
Because the mayor says so?
Because Ted Wheeler is horrible to law enforcement in and around the city. Wow. And it's unfortunate because, you know, they have tried to do what they can in order to help with the homeless problem, which is really, unfortunately, out of control, and it is affecting quality of life there. And crime has gone up. It used to be called the most livable city in the world, and it was a destination place for people from expensive parts of the country to move to because there was affordable housing. It's incredibly beautiful. It is arguably one of the most beautiful cities in the country, and Ted Wheeler is incredibly unpopular, and it's because of decisions like this. But then he talks out both sides of his mouth, and he will go to a meeting with civic leaders, and someone will say, hey, you know, there are a bunch of homeless people in Old Town and they look like zombies, and you know, the police tell us that you've tied their hands and they can't do anything about it. He's like, if a cop tells you that, I want their badge. So he tries to sound like Tough Stuff McGillicuddy when it's politically convenient to him, but he's really run a beautiful, incredible city into the ground, and it is unforgivable.
That's what happens. Juan, okay, here's my worry. If the police and government abdicate their responsibility and also the left believes that you can't protect yourself, isn't this possibly the best commercial you could ever have for the NRA?
The NRA? Well,
yes,
well,
the gun lobby. This is what, if the police aren't going to be there who are armed to protect you, all you can do is protect yourself. I would, if I were the NRA, I would run that every day.
I see. So in other words, it's not enough that you're in a car and you could run them over. You want to shoot them.
No, I'm saying that you have to protect. No, the police are there. The police are there to protect you.
Well, I'm saying,
and if they're not there, you have to defend yourself.
Look, I think this is way overstated. But you know, to me, this is like culture wars on the part of Republicans. Let's go after these homeless.
This never happened?
These homeless.
Those aren't homeless people.
A lot of them are homeless people. I think Kennedy's right. A lot of these people. By the way, I remember going through this.
Cell phones.
going through this with you before. I think this was when there was some protest in D.C. and you said, look at these anti. I mean, a lot of these people are troubled people, and then they join in with an anti-Trump movement, and then you say, oh, that's the opposition. That's why that's a mob. This is no mob. Look, there's a freedom.
That's not a mob.
Look, those people were misbehaving. And they should be held accountable for their actions. So I'm all for it, because I don't want anybody coming after me, my family, or you guys on the fight. But I'm just saying.
You shouldn't feel unsafe in your own city.
You-
I mean,
look,
it's
are you
unacceptable
kidding?
in Berkeley or Chicago
It's
or anywhere
unacceptable
else.
in Seattle, New York. I think this problem with people who have mental issues, the homeless, and that's growing in our country. But I think your thing is so curious to me because, gee, isn't it the Republicans who talk about MS-13, who talk about, fake
take care of them.
jobs,
Do something about it.
We do something.
pizza parlors where suddenly crazy conservatives come in shooting. You don't talk about that.
Yes, we do.
When does a mob become a mob, Juan? Is it 11? Is it 12? When does misbehaving become breaking the law? I mean, come on, you got to have some standards. And this place is now a loony bin over there because the mayor's a nutcase. Listen, this is what's happening. And Hillary has gone full Maxine Waters. You don't go full Maxine Waters ever. She went there. And this is why. It's because, like you said, if you believe your opponents are evil, the ends justify the means. That's why you see the doxing and the hate mail and the threats and, all this awful, as Juan likes to call it, misbehavior. I think it's a little more dangerous that it's because liberalism needs the state, the power of the state,
Absolutely
to
right.
enforce their ideology. Democrats are completely shut out of power. They don't have any power in Washington, D.C. So what they do, instead of using words and their intellect to persuade, they're using mobs to intimidate. Because that's the only way that liberalism can be achieved, through enforcement, through state power of their ideas. And that's getting a little dangerous.
You know, it's
Imagine
interesting.
if those were conservatives.
Yes, like can you imagine a Tea Party running around?
Tea Party, and they were like,
pounding-
"Oh, they're so rude, but they're putting away their."
I don't have to
signs."
imagine. They were.
No, they never.
It's
You
just
couldn't
a
find
party,
tape of
Juan.
that.
It's just a
I'll
party.
give you
Oh,
$100 for every piece of tape you find of them running around the streets.
Jesse's absolutely right. It's
Hypocrisy.
statism versus
I
individuals.
wondered if maybe someone could do an experiment. Remember, within the last year or so, you did a couple pieces about the cost of a U-Haul.
Yes.
A one-way U-Haul from California to Texas, and I'd be curious to find out what it's like in Portland. It is a beautiful city, but if you can't have law and order, you will not want to live there.
Yeah, and they're also moving the homeless to specific areas of the city that are away from people who are wealthier. So they're hurting new homeowners who are just moving in, and then all of a sudden they have people
And
doing
small businesses.
shooting up.
Hey, didn't you guys have
Same
us
in
moving
Seattle.
out of San Francisco because they were pooping on the street? And
Yep.
you have them moving out of New York because of de
Language, Juan.
Blasio?
Yep.
You have everybody moving out of everywhere.
It's the poop.
Oh, I see.
Kanye West is heading to the White House.